All right, I am re-recording this video because I had already recorded multiple times, but then my stomach was growling because I realized it is 8 o'clock and I hadn't eaten all day, which is bad. So I ate. Now I'm back. Now let's talk about this. Again, will be first time for you, but third time for me. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about something that I'm not 100% sure I am a credible professional to talk about. I don't know how... It's one of those topics that I've talked about in the past. We're talking about anime. Spoiler alert. I've talked about anime before in the past, and most of the time I've just been talking about the business side of it, or what I've been able to find out, having done some level of ADR on my own end with various clients. That's mostly what we've been talking about. I try not to go too far into the how-tos or try to promise or guarantee anything, because though I have done over 35 auditions for anime with Crunchyroll. I was about to say Funimation, which I still want to say Funimation, but Crunchyroll and Sound Cadence, and I think two others. I've done auditions for, I want to say 20 different animes and over 35 different auditions. And I think I am on the audition roster for Bang Zoom, Crunchyroll, Sound Cadence, and two other companies that do dubbing that don't really come to mind right now, which sorry, but mostly when people think anime in the anime studio, they mostly think Crunchyroll, or at least within the English-speaking kind of Western culture. Because that's, Crunchyroll's, that's the one, that's the big one. Outside of Japan, they're the biggest dubbing company, dubbing studio. But what I can't really talk about how to do anime or how to actually get the roles, because though I've done tons of auditions, I haven't actually gotten any roles. But what I feel like I might be able to share is kind of my advice on what you'll need in order to get on those audition lists, to actually get past that first hurdle, which is even just getting noticed and getting added to the potential roster. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I have 5 things that I think will definitely give you an advantage, or at least give you a fighting chance. And so the first thing is obviously going to be your studio. There are tons of people that still come to me, and this is mostly where this comes from. There's a lot of people that come to me for coaching, and they send me questions through email, and they have questions about anime, which I have a little bit of a rant on that. And they don't have studios, and they want to get into anime. Yes, these companies have studios to record in, but unless you are main cast, like you're one of the main characters and you're going to have multiple days of recording, you're not going to be going into studio, period. You're going to be recording on your end, remotely, in your studio. Because, like I've said before, anime doesn't really pay that much. In fact, as far as the kind of more professional areas of voiceover, anime pays the least. Most people on Fiverr, that are, make Fiverr a fair part of their career, make more on average per hour of work than you do dubbing anime. Now, that is not to say, that is not a slant or any kind of negative comment on anime. Like I've said before, there is a lot of technical and financial hurdles when it comes to the business side of it, because these companies, these dubbing studios, don't own these anime. They don't own the rights. They have a small portion of rights when it comes to distribution and when it comes to a percentage on the dubbing. They actually don't get that much from dubbing the studio themselves. Most of the time, most of the profit just comes from the launching platforms. You know, they own a website where you can actually watch these animes, and they have the distribution rights, and mostly they get funding, they get money from the memberships. So you don't get paid that much for doing anime. So if that's why you wanted to get into voiceover, you really need kind of a wake-up call and really kind of need to rethink this. This can't be the main and or only thing that you want to get into for voiceover. It's totally fine to have as a goal, but you really can't make that your only significant focus. And if it is, then you're going to need a really, really good studio. Rant over. But you have to have a really, really good studio. And what I mean by that is it has to be professional quality. You have to have a really good mic. You have to have a well-treated space, and it has to be quiet. You need these things. You have to have these things. And you have to be able to yell. And I've talked about this before when it comes to character work, is that it is very, very important that you have a studio that is of high enough quality and, a mixer and interface and microphone that is of high enough quality that you can record anything, because you don't know what's going to be coming at you. If you're just doing audiobook, everybody knows what happens in audiobook. It's just basically normal spoken volume with maybe a little bit more emphasis when they're, doing the characters, but they're never really going to scream. But in anime, in video game, in animation and cartoon, you might be screaming. You need to be able to scream in your studio and not get any bounce back, not get any reverb, any reflection, any echoes, none of that. You need none of that. It needs to be crystal clear at your highest throat-ripping volume. Perfectly clear, highest throat-ripping volume. Because that might be asked of you in anime. That might be asked of you. Now, I'm not saying that it will be. Most of the time, you're still going to be doing safer projection rather than screaming top-shelf bloody murder, but it might be asked of you, and you need to be ready for it. Also, your gear and your treatment and your microphone and your interface, all that needs to be of high enough quality that you can whisper and you not have a large, high noise floor. Your windows need to be treated, you need to put foam up, you need to, have extra barriers. It needs to be treated well. You have to be able to do both. And that's because you don't know what they're going to be asking of you. So if it just sounds good just talking, it's not going to work. And here's why. And here's how they will know and how you will be able to display whether or not you have that kind of studio. Almost every single one of these dubbing studios platforms will have a kind of a fill-out form, normally a Google form. At least most of the major studios have kind of a Google form that you'll have to fill out, and you will submit your information, your raw audio sample, your demo, your resume, all that kind of stuff. You'll be submitting all that, and that's how you'll be tested and judged. And one of the things I will be asking is your raw audio sample, which will normally have screaming. They will basically need screaming, normal talking volume, and whispering. And they will ask for, some of them will ask for kind of silence for each one of those settings. But sometimes they'll just ask for silence at the beginning when you're just doing the normal spoken word talking volume. But they will need silence to know what your studio sounds like, so you're not getting any outside noise, and that you have a clean enough interface and microphone, that you don't have a lot of self noise. And then they will also need to hear that you can scream and whisper. So you have to have these things. If you don't have those things, probably wait until you have a good studio to record in and some good gear to record with before you even submit. Don't even submit until then, okay? And here is my suggestion. Again, I can only speak from someone who's auditioned and who's been on the roster, but here's my suggestion for, do you have a quiet enough noise floor? So in your recording, when you do your sample recording, take the section of silence, like 3 to 5 seconds of silence before you do regular normal talking volume. And then you normalize that entire section with the silence and with the spoken word to -3, -5 dB. Somewhere between there. And then highlight the noise. just the noise by itself. Now, if you're doing this on Audacity, you'll basically just be looking at the sound level meter kind of thing. If you're in something like Adobe Audition, they actually have something that when you select the noise floor, it'll actually tell you what the noise floor is kind of thing. But let's say you're in Audacity and you select the noise floor and you just play the noise floor. It'll show you on the sound meter. It'll show you the activity. Your goal is going to be less, your noise floor needs to be less than negative 50 dB. I mean, much less. Now, preferably, the lower it can go, the better. Mine, on average, is about negative 56, and that's on average. So that's, at 2 in the morning, when there's no cars, there's no trains, the AC is off, everything, there's no dishwasher, there's no laundry, none of that. Everything is off. There's no traffic. It's probably closer to like 65, negative 65. When everything is on, everybody is active, we're probably talking about like negative 50. So between there is that's my average. So that's probably what you're looking for. The quieter, the better. Negative 50 minimum. If your noise floor is louder, whether it's self noise, whether it's outside noise, what have you, if it's louder than negative 50 dB, probably don't submit. It's probably not quiet enough. Just a good rule of thumb. It might be, but just to be on the safe side, as a rule of thumb, you got to get it lower than that. You got to get it lower. So keep that in mind. So next thing is going to be obviously a good demo. You got to have a good demo to present to them. Now, most of the time you're not really going to be doing cartoon or character voices. They might have some auditions for stuff like that. I mean, obviously tons of animes like One Piece and Dragon Ball, or at least Dragon Ball used to have a lot of characters that were like more cartoony and stuff like that. So sometimes there might be opportunities like that, but the majority of the time, 90+%, you're probably just going to be doing your regular voice. So your demo doesn't need to be character and cartoon, but it does need to be animation. It does need performance. You need to show them your acting. You can get away with a cartoon and character demo as long as you're also showcasing acting, but you at least need a demo that's like animation or video game that really just showcases acting and performance. You have to have that. And it needs to be professionally put together. Now, you can do it yourself, but if you're not familiar with making demos, or you're not comfortable with making demos, have someone else make it for you. Absolutely have someone make it for you. It's better that way. So after that, you got your studio, you got your noise floor in the right place, you have, a good demo. You probably need some kind of resume to submit to show them that you have done some work. It's better, even if it's not a lot, even if it's not, even if there's no anime on there, there's no anime or ADR, you need to show that you've done something. You need to showcase that you have done some work, and it hasn't just been a resume full of these are the teachers and the coaches that I've gone to. That's good, but you need to showcase that you have done work, that you have done the work, especially on the animation and the character and the performance side. So you need something on your resume, even if it is, didn't pay well, or it's not a huge, wild success, or didn't come from a major studio. You need something. You need some showcase of your work. And then lastly, you're going to need really good internet speed. That's going to be the last thing that you definitely need to have, is because, again, this is mostly going to be recorded in your studio. It's going to be your place, your mic, your interface, your computer, done from your studio. So you need really good internet speed. Now, personally, I have Source Connect. I work a lot through Source Connect. That's what I have. I have Source Connect Standard, not Source Connect Now, which is free, which does work totally fine. I've used it with some people before. But I have Source Connect, and I have that so that I can work directly with studios instantaneously. And they can actually record it on their end straight through my interface. But not all the time is that going to be asked. In fact, I think a lot of the time when it comes to anime studios, dubbing studios, what they will probably do is have you recorded on your end, but they will still be directing you. at least for a lot of the small roles and small characters. And they will be doing some kind of sync up on their end, but a good chunk of the time they'll probably also be having you recorded on your end. But you still want fast internet speed. You want to be able to have no latency, no severe latency when talking to them, whether they're talking to you through Source Connect or whether they're talking to you through Skype or Zoom, rather. I don't think anybody uses Skype anymore. Whatever the method that they're connecting with you, you have to be able to be heard and seen clearly, very clearly. Whether they're going to record through your system or you're going to record on your end, doesn't matter. They have to be able to see you and interact instantaneously. And a lot of the time they're going to be playing, basically screen sharing with you, at least sometimes, screen sharing with you the footage that you're going to be doing ADR for. And there will be kind of like a built-in delay or latency that will kind of sync up your reaction to the footage on their end. It's weird, technical. I haven't actually worked with that kind of software too much on my end. I did with a French studio, but I didn't really get to work on it on their end, like their version of it or their software. It's complicated, so I'm not really going to be covering that. Also, every single studio kind of does it differently, and I think some casting directors or directors rather have their own kind of system, and it kind of depends on the project. I don't know. Some of them, most of the time when I've worked with people, I'm actually sent the footage, sometimes with a watermark on it. I'm sent the footage and I'm told these are the timestamps, this is the section to sync it to, and then I just send them the audio file that's basically already synced up to the footage, and they just got to put it in on their end. Everybody has their own thing, but you need good internet. Can't stress that enough. So my internet speed, I'm actually going to pull it up. This is actually what I submit to people when they ask. So my internet speed is 390 Mbps. I keep forgetting if that's megabytes. I think it's megabytes. Download, and then 25 megabytes upload. So 390 download, 25 upload. And that's kind of the average. Sometimes my internet is better. Obviously, at night when no one else is using any internet, the internet's faster. But even when it's like everyone is here, everybody's using it, it's still really, really good. And I've never really had any problem with clients dropping out because of me. Sometimes there's issues on their end, but it's never really been because of me. And I've had to do stuff like that pretty regularly. So that's very, very important. They have to be able to connect with you. If your internet speed is not, if you're talking 100 download and 10 or 5 or 10 upload or download. Wait, what? Let me look at this again. If it's 100 download and 10 upload or less, probably don't worry. And wait until you have better internet for, whatever you can get. I would say minimum is going to be 220. 220. 200 download, 20 upload. Is it the other way around? Do I keep getting it the other way around? No, that's right. That's great. So 220. That's your goal. At minimum. Faster the better, obviously. And I would definitely say you should at least have Source Connect now. A lot of them do accept, especially with things like Sound Cadence and Crunchyroll, they do accept Source Connect now. But if you can get the Source Connect standard, which I have, I think it's $35 a month, that is probably going to be more beneficial, especially if you have the best internet that you can possibly get. Because again, it's going to be recorded mostly in your studio. And to be honest, if you're not recording that much with clients overseas in your day-to-day outside of dubbing studios, it might not be worth having a membership for Source Connect until you are already on the roster and just have an account with Source Connect now and have Zoom and just have really good internet. But at some point in time, if anime is your goal, you're going to need at least really good Source Connect and the best internet you can get. Sometimes you can do IPDTL, which I think has smaller bundle rates or whatever. But you need something. You need something, and you need fast internet. And that's pretty much it. Again, I can't really talk about getting into anime past this point, because that's basically what I've submitted. That is what has gotten me auditions. That is what gotten me on lineups and rosters. But I haven't actually landed the roles. So I can't speak past that. Hopefully, at some point in time, I might be able to, or I might have someone on my show and do another interview with someone like that. I've been trying to reach out to some people on that area. But at the same time, there's also, again, there's a part of me that doesn't want to encourage so much focus on the anime part of the voiceover industry. There's way too many people that focus almost entirely on the anime world, on doing anime as part of their voiceover. You don't get paid that much. And getting paid isn't everything. But in order for this to be a career, you have to be paid. And I'm not saying that because it doesn't pay that much, you should avoid doing anime. That's also not what I'm saying. What I am saying is no one lives off anime just alone. Actually, no, I take that back. There are some people that do live off anime, but there are people that only do anime and they have a tight connection with the studios, which again is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But there are some people that you can look at their kind of resume and kind of what they've done in the past, and like a good chunk of it will be anime. It'll be a lot of main characters. But again, they're not necessarily living off the anime itself. They're not necessarily living off what they get paid going into studio. A lot of the time, they will actually get paid for conventions. They will go to conventions. They will do a lot of autographs and signings and meet and greets and stuff like that. And that's actually going to one convention after doing one anime character. You'll get paid like for an hour, like it's anywhere between $50 and $75 or maybe $100 depending on the studio. For a single hour, and that's not that, up to an hour. And that's not that many lines. It's probably not that much work. It's not a big character, but you do one anime character, you get paid like $50. You can go to like a convention and you may walk out with like $1,000, doing meet and greets and signings and stuff like that. So that's kind of mostly where the incentive of doing this kind of work really is building that fandom. And again, I've talked about this before. And that's not bad. That's actually totally fine. Building a fandom, people knowing who you are and kind of, getting recognized and having a following is great. But I don't want people to go into anime thinking that that's going to be their bread and butter, that it's going to be easy, that it's going to pay well. It's not. But if it's part of your career, if it's part of the overall sum, the overall whole, then yes, pursue it. And these 5 things will definitely help you get past that first hurdle. That'll definitely help you fill out the Google form and get on a list. Again, you have to be good, but those are kind of the things that are really, really needed for ADR and dubbing. Those things are very, very important. So anyway, that's going to be it. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. Subscribe if you're new. Bell for notifications. And leave down in the comment section below. Like to see me cover any other topics, especially if it's more questions on anime. I'll do my best to go find the answers for you. And then I'll do another video for free. And that's going to be it. So until next time, peace.